This Saturday is World Whiskey Day, and Texas has a long history with the liquor. No spirit is more associated with the state's frontier than American whiskey. This morning, joining me right now is Andrew Braunberg, author of Fires, Floods, Explosions, and Bloodshed, a history of Texas whiskey. Andrew, thank you so much for coming on the show this morning. We do appreciate it.
Good morning.
Let me ask you, who distilled the first whiskey in Texas?
Yeah, the first whiskey is a little hard to know for sure because the state didn't start taxing whiskey until about 1840. But my best guess is it was probably a guy named Jabez Fitzgerald who came in to Fannin County in the mid 1830s. He came overland from Tennessee and he brought a still and he set up there on the Red River. He's a pretty good guess. He was probably distilling by the mid 1830s. Now, if you're talking about spirits generally, the Spanish were distilling brandy, 400 years ago. And early Texans were making rum in the 1820s, but whiskey more about mid 1830s.
Oh, wow. What makes Texas whiskey so special? Is it the history within itself?
Well, I find the history fascinating, and the deeper I got into it, the more interesting I found it. But I think, you've got at least 100 modern craft Texas whiskeys now, or distilleries, whiskey distilleries, and they're all trying to think a little bit about what used to get made. What could be special about thinking about a regional Texas type of whiskey. And so there's a couple things. I mean, one's just the sheer volume, the entrepreneurship in Texas. There's just a lot of people really interested about making good Texas whiskey. The trick is figuring out, what that should be, right? Texas is a great agricultural state, I think we all know, especially for grains. So you've got a huge variety of grains that people are playing with right now: corn, wheat, rye, obviously, but oats, sorghum. Obviously there's some barley as well. And then the thing people probably think about most as far as how Texas could be a little different is the climate down here, right? Mm-hmm. Things warm up, as I used to say, ripen. Whiskey ripens a little quicker in Texas, and you can have you could have a 2-year-old Texas whiskey that was really good.
I know, you talk about the history of whiskey in Texas. Medicinal whiskey was a thing. Were there makers of medicinal whiskey in Texas?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, medicinals, most of the Texas producers were kind of frontier producers, right? Pretty small operations, usually connected to a mill operation or some other, if they were using steam, maybe just a lumber mill, but typically a grain mill, maybe just water powered. There was a guy, he was a German doctor in New Braunfels who had an apothecary, so a pharmacy. And he came over in he was one of the founders of New Braunfels, so coming in the 1840s, and he made what I think we'd think about as medicinal whiskey. And you can think of this as kind of just a better class of whiskey, if you will. But I think where it really was a part of Texas whiskey history was during the Civil War. In the Confederacy of course, there was a Union blockade. They didn't have access to European drugs. They needed medicinal whiskey to make a lot of drugs using local botanicals for anti-malarials and other things. And that Confederate distillery was in Tyler, and that was probably the biggest component around medicinal in Texas.
Very interesting, sir. We do appreciate your time this morning. Fascinating to learn about.